A coup underway in Mali as rebel soldiers say they've seized power and suspended the country's constitution. We ask, how powerful are these rebel soldiers? Can the government sustain its grip on power? And how far the events in Mali will add to instability that already exists in West Africa? This is Inside Story. Hello, welcome to the programme. I'm Adrian Finnegan. On Thursday, rebel troops in Mali went on state television to announce that they'd seized control of the country and ended the administration of President Amadou Toumani Touré. They also declared a nationwide curfew and suspended the constitution. Tension rose on Wednesday when the defence minister failed to address soldiers' concerns during a visit to a military camp near the capital Bamako. Shortly afterwards, rebel soldiers staged a mutiny and attacked the presidential palace. Jamal El-Shayal reports.
We, the guards of the Republic, have decided to put an end to this failed regime and remove the president, Amadou Toumani Touré.
Mutiny in Mali. Soldiers announced that they are now their country's new rulers. Troops had moved in on the presidential palace in the capital Bamako late Wednesday in a bid to oust the president. Angry because in their eyes the president and his defense minister have failed to deal properly with a rebellion in the country's north. Grievances analysts believe the government did not take seriously enough.
Definitely, you know that there are a segment of the army, even the populace, has been criticizing the president, Amadou Toumani Touré, basically for one reason. There's been an insurgency by the Tuareg community in the northern third of Mali.
Mali's army has been fighting Tuareg tribes who are seeking an independent state, a conflict that has recently intensified. The military says they are losing that battle because President Amadou Toumani Touré has failed to provide them with adequate arms and weaponry. On Thursday morning, it was still unclear as to who exactly is leading this coup and whether or not it will succeed. The rebel soldiers took control of the state television channel, interrupting its broadcast with a message telling citizens that the military would address them shortly. Hours later, a group of uniformed officers appeared to announce that they have taken charge. Many will say the writing was already on the wall for President Touré, who's ruled the country for 10 years now. Last month, the capital was brought to a standstill when angry protests saw thousands take to the streets, blocking traffic and demanding the government improve its handling of the Tuareg uprising. Ironically, President Touré himself led a coup in 1991. Now, if the generals can succeed in fully ousting Touré, and if they find support amongst the public, then what goes around could very well come back around. Jamal El-Shayal, Inside Story.
All right, let's give you a little more background to the situation in Mali. The country was the scene of a bloody coup in 1991. After killing hundreds of peaceful protesters, the army eventually turned on the then president, Moussa Traoré, joining the ranks of those calling for change. That coup was led by Amadou Touré, the current president, who this latest mutiny is trying to oust. The reason? His handling of an ongoing conflict with the Tuareg tribes. That conflict's been going on for years. President Touré managed to strike a peace deal with the Tuareg in 2009, but fighting has intensified in recent months, many say because of the number of weapons flooding in from Libya left over from the war there. So, how powerful are the rebel soldiers in Mali? To help us answer this question, we're joined by our guests today. From Leeds, Akli Sh'kka, spokesman for the Tuareg Youth Movement for Justice and Equality. In Berlin, Baz Lecocq, a professor of African history at Ghent University in Belgium. And on the line from the capital of Mali, Bamako, we have Adam Thiam, who's a columnist for Le Républicain newspaper. Gentlemen, welcome to you all. Adam Thiam, should we be surprised by what's happened in Bamako? After all, there have been rumours of division within the government in Mali, dissent among the armed forces, even talk of a possible coup for several weeks now.
Yes, I mean, Malians have been very astonished at what has happened by this coup d'etat. Although we knew that there was many frustrations within the army and the way the government has been accused to manage the current war in the north of the country. The reason why people are astonished is because that, I mean, the president who was just toppled down, Amadou Touré, was a bit popular within the army and in the country in general. The second reason is that Mali is viewed, is showcased as one of the success stories in democracy in West Africa. And the third reason is that, I mean, we thought that, everything was not going okay in the north of the country. That was just 45 days ahead of the elections, which in this last mandate of President Touré, we thought that he could go smoothly after the elections.
Adam, other criticisms of those behind this mutiny, this coup, valid? Is the army operation against the Tuareg rebellion ill-led and poorly equipped, as they claim?
Yes, that was one of the key arguments of the army in February, when spouses of militaries, some of whom have been killed in northern Mali in the Aguelhok battle, demonstrated and went to see the president to tell him that, okay, our husband has no equipment, they have no good ammunition, they have not enough food. How could they fight and gain victories in these circumstances? President told them that, okay, according to him, there were sufficient means in the army, but he committed himself for getting more. And we thought that the story was closed, but we didn't know that just yesterday, 21 of March, President Touré will be toppled down by mutiny.
Baz Lecocq, what do you make of the timing of this coup attempt, this mutiny? President Touré was due to step down anyway after elections next month.
Yes, he was supposed to step down and probably would have stepped down in June this year after the presidential elections of end of April. So the coup attempt is, you can look at it in two ways. One way is that given the unpopularity right now in Mali, especially among the army, but also among part of the population of the Touré government, the coup had to be staged now if it was an intended coup, because in a few months' time there would be a new government, so the complaints against the Touré government would no longer be valid. Another way to look at it is that the soldiers do not really care about the timing of the coup. If they have a particular idea in mind to stage a coup, they will do it regardless of timing.
The president himself says that he's still in control. He's been spirited away by those still loyal to him. As a former army general, I mean, how much support does President Touré have among his senior armed forces commanders, Baz?
For the moment, it is very unclear. There's various rumors. One rumor is that President Touré, who is indeed the leader of the so-called Red Berets, the paratroopers of Mali, is now in the American embassy. Another rumor is that he is not, and that he is with loyal troops just outside Bamako in one of the barracks. But it is unclear for the moment where he is, whether he's been really ousted or not.
Akli Sh'kka in Leeds, what do you make of what's going on in Mali at the moment?
I think it's actually what's going on is purely a mutiny and frustration that the group of soldiers or officers are trying actually I mean they're expressing the anger of the other Malians. It's just actually it's not a mutiny. I can see it as a mutiny. It is just expression that because the Malian government have been sending the soldiers actually who are not ready, and they are not ready actually to fight because they know very well that they are fighting a loose war. So that's why this even we have seen a lot of protests and demonstrations in Bamako and Gao that have been taken place from the beginning of this revolution. They're refusing actually sending their own children for an empty land, for a foreign country, killing innocent people and just doing something that they are not actually happy to do. So it's far away being as a mutiny. It is just an expression of frustration and refusal of going fighting in a foreign land. That's what I said. It's nothing to do actually to do with a mutiny or the coup or something. Right. It's just frustration that's have been going in the country.
All right, let me just get this clear. You think that it's all a storm in a teacup. It'll blow over. That the elections will go ahead next month once the point has been made, and there'll be a return to stability. I'm interested that you say a lot of Malians know that the Tuaregs are being repressed and are unhappy about it.
Yes, yes. As I said, it is just it's a frustration actually of the Malian people. It's a joke actually when we have been hearing this. There is the election is going to take place in the time and in place. The Malian President Oumani Touré have been saying this. Everyone actually was thinking, oh, this is actually a joke. How can you make the election is in a country which is raging and in a war, and anyway, that's nothing to do with the Tuareg. The Tuareg actually do not actually interfering in what's going on in the Malian state. They only focus on their own region and they're trying to liberate their own land. So it's nothing to do with the Tuareg. The Tuareg are winning on the ground and having many bases, and they fought now. They are 70% of the Azawad region actually is under control of the Azawad people. So it's progressing, and now just today, before I came to the studio, I've heard the news that there's a street fighting going in Gao, which is the last part of the Azawad region, and the Kidal also now there is negotiations to surrender the soldiers who's been fighting beside Mali, or the Malian government now are just taking negotiations, okay. And maybe it will take a few hours to surrender and give up for the revolutionaries.
Okay, let's broaden our discussion out a little now. The current Tuareg-led rebellion in the north of the country started earlier this year after thousands of well-armed and trained Tuareg fighters returned from Libya. Their anger at events in Libya was compounded by the failure of Mali's president and his government to address their problems. Well, Tuaregs, a nomadic community of Mali, live in the area of Azawad, which refers to the Tuareg-speaking zone that covers northern Mali. Azawad consists of three regions: Timbuktu, Gao and Kidal. The Tuareg make up roughly 7% of Mali's population. Tuareg's National Movement for the Liberation of Azawad, the NMLA, is calling for independence for the north. They've long complained that they've been marginalised by the southern government. The post-colonial history of the Tuareg in Mali has been characterised by a series of rebellions that began back in 1960. Adam Thiam, do you think now that Mali faces a realistic prospect of territorial division?
Let's try first to correct some of the, misperceptions, that I noted with my brother from the Tuareg, my tribe brother. I think that, no, it's not that the military had a sense that they're fighting in foreign land. Everybody knows that Mali is one country. And as a word, what they call Azawad is part of this country has been part of this country since the 60s, when Mali got independent. The second misperception might be, the fact that, to say that Tuareg are 7% of the population, yes, total population, but they are the minority in the region which they are claiming the independence from. You have others or other groups like Tuareg who are the majority and who probably wanted to stay with Mali, not with Azawad. What will they do with this category? I don't want to jump into that debate because I think it's a debate which is not very, very good for an African country. But yes, coming back to your question, the 62 rebellion, the 90 rebellion, the 2006 rebellion, and the 2012 rebellion. For me, that was 4 rebellions with different reasons, okay? Anthropologists have made the mistake to think that you have a link between these four rebellions, but it's not. The 62 rebellion was a very stupid reprisal by the central state of a very small, limited movement, which was right to question its links with the central state.
Okay. Baz Lecocq, I don't know whether you want to come in and comment on whether you think the country faces a territorial division between North and South. I want to ask you about this latest rebellion. We said that there have been a number of them in the past. What has been the catalyst for this particular rebellion compared with others? The
particular catalyst, preparations is a big word, but the current movement, MNLA, was created out of a fusion of two other Tuareg movements that both strove for Tuareg independence. One is a former rebel movement that was active in the period 2006-2009, which is called ATNMC, led by a certain Ibrahim Bahanga, and this was a military movement. And they fused with a student movement of Tuareg students, part of them educated in Mali, part of them educated abroad, who founded the MNA, the National Movement for the Azawad, in October 2010. And these movements fused together to form the MNLA. Then the influx of Tuareg fighters from Libya is partly related to this, but it's partly accidental. It has to do more with developments in Libya. And it should be stressed that when this group of Tuareg fighters returned from Libya, a large part of them actually did not want to join, at first at least, the MNLA, but made it clear to the Malian government and the Malian state that they wanted to integrate the Malian army. And only later did part of them join the MNLA, and the situation evolved as it is now.
Akli Sh'kka, the MNLA, does it have links with other armed groups operating in the region, or even any neighbouring nations?
Well, it depends what you mean, actually. If MNLA, we have only one actually front which is fighting now in the north of Mali. It's MNLA, Azawad Liberation Movement. But I don't know what you mean by other groups who's fighting. Anyway, this, as the gentleman who said just speaking, I can't remember where he's speaking from. Yes, this is actually the MNLA actually started in 2010 as a peaceful movement, and since then has been working on to find a way of dialogue and negotiations to make their movement peacefully. But the Malian, they always face it by refusal, and so they haven't succeeded, actually. And the events which led the events that happened in Libya, actually, the Tuareg, as you know, all the Colonel Gaddafi and some government in Algeria were actually the main people who obstacle and trying to hinder their movement and create their own state. But now one of the best or the biggest enemies of the Tuareg is Gaddafi, who's in Libya. Just here, I'd like to mention that there is a lot of misleading, actually, when to do with numbers of the Tuaregs who flood Libya. We always getting these numbers. We now, if anyone actually in this, those people who are actually saying thousands and thousands of Tuaregs who flood Libya, this is ridiculous, actually, to say. They are just exceed 200, and we can ask the NTC how many of the ex-occupants who's fighting beside Gaddafi, how many of them? They are just 100, a couple of hundred. Yes, we do have some officers who's now even the revolution in the west of Libya, it wouldn't exceed if these people draw arms from Libya, because there is a secret actually agreement between the Tuareg in the west of Libya and the NTC. Please take as much as you can for the weapons and take them wherever you want. Just please take them from Gaddafi, because Gaddafi actually is reliant on these weapons.
Actually, you say you didn't know what I meant. Let me be more specific about the links that the NMLA might have with other organizations. Specifically, I'm thinking about Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb. The government claims that the NMLA executed 82 captured soldiers and civilians at Lacock in January this year, saying that the group is guilty of war crimes. What do you make of those claims, given that the French development minister said after he'd been in the region that the people killed were killed in a way that was reminiscent of the tactics of Al-Qaeda?
Actually, I think we all have been in this experience in Mali, in Libya, in Tunisia, in Egypt. Everyone is claiming that there is Al-Qaeda and this is the Al-Qaeda. It's the same. You can apply it as well in the north of Mali. Well, we are traditionally as Tuareg. If you go back to the history of the Tuareg, we have a tradition. If you are going to fight someone, it has to be, you have to set a time, where and what time you are going to fight him. So you wouldn't stab someone in back. So traditionally, we are not actually as a Tuareg doing our traditions and customs and our morals will not wouldn't let us to do this. This is just a propaganda.
Okay.
I think even on a Malian government, they supplied some pictures which have been taken place in Nigeria in 2010.
Okay.
We discovered that on internet, and everyone can find out the pictures we have been using in Lacock actually from Nigeria.
Time is rapidly running out here. Baz, what do you make of these claims that the MNLA is linked to Al-Qaeda?
Well, it's of course very tempting to make all kinds of amalgamations, but first of all, we know very, very little about Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb as a movement to start with. We only know that it's very few men and that they are active in either the abduction of Western and African employees and tourists, or that they shoot them. Otherwise, we know very, very little. What we do know is that the MNLA has formally distanced itself, first of all, of Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb, that it presents itself as a secular movement fighting for human rights, for the right to succession, for the right of self-government. And to confuse things a bit and to make them slightly more complicated, there is another Tuareg movement active in the region, which is called Jamaat Ansar-ud-Din, which fights for an independent Tuareg state, but that should be governed according to Sharia law. These men are not part of Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda is a global movement fighting a global jihad and does not agree at all with the idea of a nation state. Ansar-ud-Din fights for an independent Tuareg state, but it should be an Islamic state.
Okay.
And the MNLA, from its side, is fighting for a secular independent Tuareg state.
Right. Baz, there have also been. Baz, I'm sorry. As I said, we've just got very little time left. I also want to ask you about these accusations that Mali has become a narco state, that there is a multi-billion-dollar trafficking operation underway in the north of the country. Is there anything to those accusations, do you think, and could it have anything to do with what's happening in the country right now?
Well, yes, I think that part of these accusations are true. In Mali, there's a widespread belief, at least, that part of the Malian government and part of the army leadership is in fact involved in this narco traffic. I mean, these drugs do not materialize out of nothing in northern Mali to start with, although there has been some proof that cocaine has been smuggled into Mali by plane from South America. Excuse me. But on the other hand, part of this cocaine, if this drug traffic runs through the West African coast, then comes into Mali and then goes on through the Sahara. Personally, although this is very wide speculation, I think that the current uprising might in fact disrupt drug trafficking in the Sahara. There is one YouTube clip from the MNLA, no, not from the MNLA, but from the Malian army on YouTube fighting the rebels in the north, where you can see that the Malian army is actually aided by, well, clearly Westerners.
There, I'm afraid we must end it. Thank you to our guest today, Akli Sh'kka in Leeds, Baz Lecocq in Berlin, and on the line, Adam Thiam. And thank you very much indeed for being with us on this edition of Inside Story. If you want to send us your feedback, please just email your thoughts to us at insidestory@aljazeera.net. Thanks for watching. I'm Adrian Finnegan in Doha. I'll see you again. Bye for now.